What's up, guys? It's Jim from Wrestle Wellbeing here, and welcome back to a brand new episode of The Unseen Battles, where we dive into our guests' journey into professional wrestling and also dive into their struggles, their battles, and hopefully triumphs with mental health. So, before we get into the guests today, I want to talk about the Hot Tag Foundation. The Hot Tag Foundation is a non-profit organisation based here in the UK that aims to share professional wrestling with children across Britain, particularly those in need. The way that they do this is by collecting donations of wrestling items such as toys, merchandise, and other wrestling-related goods, personalising and packaging these donations, distributing them to children, mostly in hospitals, alongside with the partnership. And they do this around the seasonal holidays such as Christmas. So, in essence, the Hot Tag Foundation leverages the appeal of professional wrestling to bring joy and a sense of real-life superheroes to children, especially those facing challenging circumstances. We've got a quick 2-minute video, guys, for you to watch, which will explain everything. And also, make sure you check out the QR codes on this quick clip, because it is links to the several wrestling companies up and down the UK. Absolutely fantastic companies, including Wrestling in Newcastle and UKW, and also Grit and Raw. So make sure you go check those out. Ready for So there you are, guys. Make sure you check out the Hot Tag Foundation. Make sure you check out all those fantastic companies up and down the UK. But now, on to today's episode of The Unseen Battles. I'm joined by a fantastic young man within the wrestling industry at the moment in time. I am joined by the last choice. It is Matty Cash. Matty, how are things?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
I'm very well, mate. Thank you so much for coming on today. I really do appreciate it. Let's just start off straight away, mate. So, can you tell us how you got into professional wrestling, bud? Is it something that you wanted to do ever since you were a kid, or is it something that you came on later on in life?
Well, I've always been interested in wrestling since I was 8. I saw Rey Mysterio on the screen. I was like, whoa, he's really cool. Can I beat him? I am autistic, and when I was younger, I was quite low functioning comparatively, so couldn't necessarily go straight into a wrestling school with the social situation I had. I wasn't very good at understanding social cues and stuff like that, and in a wrestling world, it's not the perfect mix. So started off going into MMA, so trained in several different martial arts, from Muay Thai to kickboxing to karate, to boxing. Did that for 5-6 years, and then stopped as I was 18, going into in college. And then I ended up in a really low point in my life where I was homeless. I was living in a DOS house. My friends and everybody around me were pretty much using me, and it took me to get to that dark place to go, you know what? I've always wanted to do this. I feel like I'm physically capable enough of doing this to actually pursue that goal. I think with all of like the reputation that wrestling has in the general pop culture, where like you go to school and some people may look down on it, that always made me go, especially in such a poor area, this might not be a thing to pursue. This might not be something I'm able to get to. And then it took me to that point to go, you know what, I don't care.
Absolutely, mate. So when you were doing your MMA, your mixed martial arts, which discipline was your favourite? Would you say which one were you more leaning towards?
I think I always loved Muay Thai and like MMA itself, like the more grappling side of things. I always loved the physicality of it, and like the idea of it's not just whether somebody's got this reach or anything. There's a whole physical skill to it where like you've got to pivot each other to unbalance each other's weights and stuff like that. And then you like when you're getting different submissions and stuff, that was always the funnest part to me, to like be like, oh, I got a new thing. Ooh.
Fantastic, mate. So have you found yourself, obviously when you first started with wrestling, did you find yourself incorporating parts of MMA into wrestling, such as like Aleister Black does?
I really wanted to, but so I originally trained at a different school up in Downton, and then left that after a year because they weren't treating me very well. So I originally did want to do the MMA stuff, and I was like, oh, this is really cool. I can incorporate this with my wrestling. Like my favorite wrestlers are like Kyle O'Reilly, Daniel Bryan, Kurt Angle, like that legit nature to what they're doing. And I really wanted to do that, and they looked at me. I had split dye hair. I was proper like skinny emo, and they were like, you know what, you're Jeff Hardy, you. And I was like, I don't really want to be Jeff Hardy, but that's a cool comparison. So for like a year, I was just doing high flying stuff and learning how to do drop kicks and stuff like that.
Absolutely, mate. I do think that the mixture of a Kurt Angle, Jeff Hardy hybrid, that would be quite cool to see, to be fair. I think that you might need to push for that one, mate.
maybe I haven't thought of it like that.
Definitely think so. So can you describe your first training experience when you first started wrestling, bud? What was it like when you first took a bump?
Not fun. Never fun. Especially because, and then I left there to go to PPW. Same experience again. Come in, I'm like, I know what I'm doing this time, and the bump feels exactly the same after taking like 6 months off. It's not. It's not what you want it to be. Dominic Mysterio is a really good one, where it's like running the ropes is the worst part of training, and nobody thinks about it like that. And I'm like, yeah, it is. It's awful. It never gets any funner. And my first training experience, like the first couple sessions, they were a bit of a 50-50. So the physical side, I felt like I was quite good at. Like I could do the rolls, I could do the bumps, and I could move about physically in the correct manner for a wrestling context. But I did struggle with the character stuff. Like I really struggled getting out of my skin and presenting myself in front of people, which they didn't really take a liking to. So first promo class, the guy hands me a mic, and I think as like a young kid, this is going to be okay. They make me do a promo. They're not gonna care how I do. They just want to see me push myself. Cut an awful promo, and then the coach takes the mic off me and cuts a 10-minute promo obliterating my promo and telling me about how awful I am. And I just sat there and I was like, this isn't what training should be like. And then that's such a contrast to going to PPW and coming in and like Liam being so welcoming and hearing things in my promo to bring my personality out of me. And now I'm so confident in it with a mic in my hand, and I feel like I can speak for myself, I can stand up for myself as my character, and I can really feel like a wrestler in that moment. As before, I felt like I was trying to be something, because now I can just respond and understand what I'm doing. But yeah, I think the difference of where I've trained has really shown me that that's not something that should happen. That's just an experience that I've dealt with that shouldn't happen. But then PPW, that was so different. Like I had a match as well, and that was really fun. And like Liam giving me advice in such a different way, where it's just like, I saw these things. I think from here, this is what you could work on, and then little jabs to get me where I want to be, rather than just being like, that was crap.
Completely understand what you mean there, mate. So, what would you say the best advice from Liam has been for you?
Just wrestle. Stop thinking. Stop trying. Just do it. Because I get so stuck in my head. This is my problem. I overthink and I get stuck in my head. So sometimes I do just need to wrestle and stop thinking about what I'm doing and just do it. I feel like a couple takeover sessions, other people came in and also repeated this point of like, wrestling doesn't feel real a lot of the time in a couple places you'll go, because now we're choreographing and now we're trying to hit every beat, but in that you lose the natural nature of like what the exciting part is. Like Jim Cornette has a really good quote where it's like, you see two guys on the side of the road and they're scrapping. There's a little guy and that big guy's beating him up, and that little guy gets completely. You're like, oh god, so you pull over and you have to watch, and that's the excitement of wrestling to me.
Absolutely, bud. Absolutely. So, obviously, you mentioned that you have autism. What sort of challenges do you face, obviously, when it comes to training and when you're a show with your autism?
So I've got the double barrel of being autistic and bipolar, so it's a bit of a contrast a lot of the times. So the reason I say that is because it is very conflicting a lot of times. So like, I've got more comfortable understanding my autism and how it affects my wrestling. So now I don't really think about that as much. At first, it's a lot of social barriers, and like, because of being bullied as a child, like always being worried about, am I saying the right thing? Am I doing the right thing? Then overthinking on that. And that was a lot of the start of my wrestling journey. Is like, I was always worried that like, am I being perceived in a way that I'd rather not, that I want to, I don't want to just be that guy who is autistic, who's just training. I want to be the guy who is wrestling and he is also autistic or bipolar or whatever. But now I think I'm finding that a lot more comfortable, and I'm just feeling a lot more in my skin than I did when I started. I think that's a thing of just, I try and tell people with certain difficulties, just keep going. You know, like this is going to be awkward, but the more you can deal with the awkward, the less awkward it's going to be. But with my bipolar, that's been something that has really been something more difficult to deal with as I've got into it. Like, after matches and stuff, especially, I'm hypercritical. So like, I've just had a match, somebody's telling me that it's brilliant, and I'm going, I messed up this one thing, and my brain will hyperfixate on that thing. Just going on constant tangents of like, I could have done this, I could have done that. I think that's another thing Liam's really good at, is just being like, this isn't you. You've came out and you've performed, but when you get back, that doesn't affect you, and that shouldn't affect how you're feeling. So I always try and take a step back after that as well. I acknowledge that I felt that, but then also just go, okay, that was a feeling, and sometimes I'm just going to feel that. But if I want to do this, I've got to accept that that's a thing.
Absolutely, bud. Absolutely. So, so obviously, when you're coming back after a match, you think you've had a bad match, and people saying that it were really good, sort of thing. Is it a case of imposter syndrome where you're stuck in your own head and you're just thinking this, only saying this because they're being nice to me? How do you overcome that sort of like imposter syndrome against yourself?
So I'd say I'm quite good at understanding where like what their points are, because a lot of the time, yes, I've done this, but I'm more so like I've done this, which takes away from that, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So like I think it's also to do with the fact that I wasn't prepped well at the first school, of being like, I need to prove myself to all these people that I can hang with them. So I think just also having people to talk to, really, that's one of the main things, just opening up and like being able just to say stuff to people and them not immediately try and make you feel better. Sometimes just acknowledging what you're saying to make you feel heard can be the best thing. So Alfie's a big one for me. She's brilliant. Like at training, sometimes we'll just sit there and we'll be little emos, and sometimes it's nice just to be a little emo. So I think that's one big thing, is having people to be like, that's okay, that's going to happen. It might have been awful, it might have been great, but you on to the next one.
Definitely, mate. Alfie's a very good friend of the channel. We really do like Alfie. There's one of the videos that is on your Instagram that I particularly love is the video of yourself training with Alfie and Dee, where Alfie hands you Dee. I love that clip of you guys. It's brilliant.
Oh, I'll do anything with Alfie. I love her to bits. She's brilliant. She's somebody as well that gets in her head a lot of the time, and like she's doing brilliantly. So a lot of the time I try and also remind her she's getting in the spot that she's getting for a reason, that she's good and she's proved herself and she's got a character that's out there, but she's making it work, so nobody has anything to say about her, to be confident in that. So it is nice to be able to do stuff with her as well in the ring. And I'm stupid enough to go, yes, I'll drop myself on my head for you.
Absolutely. So massive shout out to Alfie, guys, a really good friend of the channel. Also, guys, if you check out the QR code just above my head in the corner, that is a link to Matty's Instagram page. So make sure you go give him a follow. He's got some really awesome content out at the moment in time, and obviously within the future, he's going to be putting out quite a lot more. Got a comment from Sledge Bro, mate, who says, I remember that video was the coolest move I've ever seen, obviously reiterating to the one we just spoke about with Alfie and Dee. Can you just briefly tell us, Matty, what's it like working with Dee? Is it just, is it really easy? Because she seems to be a really easy person to work with.
Dee?
With Alfie. And Dee.
Alfie's brilliant to work with. Like she's good as well at communicating when she thinks something doesn't work. I think a lot of people are really awkward with it, and it's like sometimes just try and give a reason, be clear in what you're saying, and everything's fine. I think she's really good at also like just having fun in there, which I think, as I've said, like a lot of the time you take away the fun from yourself. So I do really enjoy doing stuff when I can with Alfie. She's brilliant to work with.
We heard that quite a lot about Alfie on the show. To be fair, obviously there's yourself. I had Skylar Rose on last week. She was also full of praise for Alfie as well. Can you just tell us, Matty, about some of the most memorable moments or matches that you've had in your career so far?
So first is getting to do a training match with Liam Slater. That was so fun. That was probably the best thing that I've done in my 4 years of training and wrestling. That is my favorite experience, because it's the first time I really got that feeling of this is working. All this effort that I'm putting in, something's coming from it. That wasn't the best match I'm ever going to have. I wouldn't want it to be, but it's proof that I can hang in the ring. So the challenge Liam gave me was, like a month before, I was like, I'd had 2 training matches re-debuting, and I just felt that I'm struggling right now. I don't know whether it's just me or my opponents, but it's happened twice, and I feel like it's just me. And Liam was all for it. He was like, yeah, you want to have a match with somebody more experienced, that's all fine. And then I tried to go through a match in pre-plan in a one-on-one with him, and he went, I'm not going to plan a match with you at the show. You're gonna come and we're gonna just have a match. And I'm so glad he did that. because that really helped me realize I have much more potential than I thought I did. When we just called through the entire match in the ring, and I got to just feel the moment, and that was such a beautiful thing. And the fact that he was willing to have that match with me, I was so thankful to him. So I really appreciate that. That is by far my best moment. I think another one was this is a small one, but this is just me at a training session. After Leon won the TNA belt, he came in and I got to hold it and be next to him for a second. And it was just this really wholesome feeling of like how much I loved PPW. And it just represented everything for me about that. And just Leon doing all that and then coming back and talking about and being so open and giving us all that, all the coaching he's got from everywhere he's going. And then also I was just wanting to take a photo of him. He just gives me a belt. I'm like, oh my God, so cool. This is the same belt AJ had. And then I think for another in-ring moment, doing the soul snatcher in the ring for the first time, that was so cool. That was like, because I didn't think that was going to hit, and then I hit, and then I was stressed about the match, and then I came back and I didn't care about the match. I just hit my cool thing, and I was so happy.
Definitely, mate. Saw that video as well on your Instagram. It looked sweet as a nut, mate. Looked absolutely brilliant. You should be really proud of yourself, bud. So, obviously, when I messaged you yesterday asking if you were still okay coming on today, you mentioned that you had your Firestar debut yesterday.
Yeah.
How do you prepare for something like that? Obviously, people may not see that as a big match, but obviously, with it being a debut or with a new company, that can be seen as quite a big match. How do you prepare for such a match like that, both physically and mentally?
So this was changed to the card, so I wasn't originally meant to be on the show. So I was just coming to help out. So I took my girlfriend to Disneyland last week for a couple's holiday, because I was like, I've been training non-stop for a couple of years. I sort of need to do something with her before she goes, why am I here? So did that to treat her. I got back, I was exhausted, and then Rob messaged me. I was like, can you the show, it was about the seminar the day before, but there was no train, so I couldn't make that, sadly. I would have loved to. It looked real fun. But then he was like, we've got a show on the next day. If you want to come, feel free. So I came down just to help out. He said I was on the card, and I ended up being the spooky dude for the night. So that was really fun. And it gave me a different sort of experience. Some places, they want you just to come in, see what you can do, but I kind of enjoy getting put in these different positions and getting to see what I can do. So being part of, like I say, spooky, so like a bit of a Wyatt family-esque faction there, coming out from under the ring, terrifying a bunch of kids. That was that I shouldn't be as happy with that as I am, but that was so funny. We came out and like there was like a couple 6-year-olds, and they all jumped back from the seats, and I just had to stop myself there from like just laughing my head off, because I was like, this is brilliant. This is the beauty of wrestling. This, that like I could have went out there and done whatever, but that wouldn't have been as cool as coming out from under the ring and them kids having like a proper theatrical experience. And then we did so that led us into a 6-man later on in the night, which was a 7-man. So we were 4v3, which was insane to plan. But I think sadly I ended up being the punching bag of the match. I was telling you earlier, I took a giant Gumba stomp at the end. That didn't feel brilliant. The guy did a pop-up powerbomb type thing, and the guy and his tag partner goes over him and hits like a coup de grace. And I'm just like in there going, no, please, no.
So yeah, like you said, you mentioned that just before, and I said I'm trying to imagine that, and it just completely blows my mind that can even be conceived of. So yeah, absolutely insane, mate. But yeah, I love the fact that both of us have the same mentality of you're trying to hold in your laughter from making the kids scared. It's,
yeah.
it's for that one, buddy.
Just the fact that you can see it in them, that like at that age where they just want to respond by punching you, but they're scared at the same time. So there's the double take. It's
I love that. That's brilliant, buddy. Absolutely fantastic. So what would you say has been sort of like? Would you say that's the best reaction that you've had to your character?
So I think that's where it was interesting because that wasn't really that was it sort of into my character, but I felt like I'm doing something that is uncharacteristic. So like understanding how I'd act in that role, it was quite fun actually in terms of like usually as a last choice, my physicality is very I like to say it's like a toddler who's just lost an argument and they're fuming about it. Like you've told the toddler off and like, no, 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 this isn't no, that's not fair. That's not fair. No, no, I'm right. And like I love that sort of image. So that's usually physicality I come out with. So at PPW for the first time coming out as a face, that's probably my favourite crowd reaction because it was only a training show, but I wrestle physically a lot more like a face than I do a heel. So to come out and just everybody's up for me and everything can be like, I'm really cool in this moment and taking the other side of that last choice name and just being like, yeah, so I am. So what? And what? That was really fun to be able to embrace that other side of the character. I think that's definitely got to be my favorite interaction with kids at a show though. That's terrifying.
We all love making kids scared, but we all love making kids scared. Most people don't want to admit it, but we do.
Yeah.
So, what would you say have been some of your biggest challenges that you've faced in your career so far, aside from mental health, bud?
So in January, I almost broke my leg during training. So I was supposed to debut in the January training show. So that was a really big setback because I was going to do a team with someone that didn't go too well. So I stopped that and I was like, all right, I'm going to do this. But before that, I felt so ready that we were doing a takeoff the session with Lana Ross and we had Gene Money in and I was so ready to go. And then the gimmick that we were doing just wasn't working. So then that was a restart. And then when I was ready again, I hurt my leg, and that was like what can I do? What can I do in this situation? And I think that was a really big setback for me in terms of, oh no, because the August before we had OTT in, and that was for the boot camp. That was brilliant, but for me, that was also brutal because the head trainer didn't really like what I was doing. Like they thought my footwork was awful, which they had said under the breath, which I heard, which felt real like that was when I was doing team thing. It wasn't working, so I was already in my head. And then they said that, and I was like, oh no. Luckily, though, I took that as okay, this is what I've got to work on. I've got to work on all my fundamentals, and I've got to just do this until I know they're clean, until I know what I'm doing in that ring. I'm not going to go out there. I'm going to wait until guys like that can go, okay, that's okay. He's like when I see him again, hopefully then I get, oh, he's actually learned. Because obviously a big thing in wrestling is a lot of people aren't coachable. So I think that's a big thing it's made me understand is how do I make myself coachable. So that sent me into 6 months of okay, we're going to really focus here. That hurt my leg, and then luckily I think that mindset kept me going through that and just being like, if I keep going from here, things are only going to improve as long as I'm healing healthy and stuff like that. As long as I keep going, I'm going to understand wrestling more. I'm going to understand what I'm wanting to do more and how to present it better.
Absolutely, mate. So, gonna give you one last question before we get into the mental health side of things, mate. If I could give you top three men and women wrestlers that you would like to wrestle on the UK scene, who would you give me?
Sadly, can't say Leon Slayer anymore. It's everywhere. George Hunter got my match taken away from me. Want that? That's probably the biggest one that I want to do. Callum Andrews, and I think I'm going to say two because Evan Bishop and Nathan Fisher. I feel like they're four young guys that just make me feel like this is really cool. This scene that's starting to happen. I could keep going on and on as well. As said, Mercer's another one. Before I forget him, there's like who are going out there training at multiple places, getting their names out there, and really doing something. And like to me, it's like this is really cool. We've got like a mini X division there. That's how I think of it at least. That there's like a little UK scene starting to grow of younger guys who want to have these cool matches and want to just enjoy themselves wrestling. On the women's side of that, I'd love to wrestle Alfie. After having a takeover session with Rio, I think that's ages away if that ever happens. But like, she's somebody who I just loved her mindset on wrestling, so I'd love to do something with her in the far future. And then I think because I'm grungy, I think they'd be a good mix if I went against Natalie Sykes.
Definitely, mate. Absolutely fantastic. Yeah, with those ones, mate. If I could give you one from each, I would say Joe Sedgwick,
yeah,
and Drew Ashling. I think that those would be two fantastic matches. Guys, if you want to put in the comments below who you think that Matty should go up against, male or female, let us know and we'll put it to Matty and see what he thinks. Hopefully, one of those wrestlers is watching and we could get Matty a match. So, if it's all good with you, Matty, we'll move on to the mental health side of things, if that's all right. Fantastic, but we'll be 2 seconds. So, Matty, can you share a bit about when you first started experiencing your struggles, please?
So I have always dealt with mental health struggles. From age 8, I had a speech therapist. So I was very non-verbal as a child, and I didn't know I had bipolar, and neither did my parents. So I was there was a lot to deal with. I had absent parents as well. My dad wasn't really there for me, so I grew up with a single mum in a very poor area with a lot of mental health. It was hard growing up. I got bullied throughout primary school and secondary school, and then in college I also got alienated. So I always found it really tough. But then stuff like martial arts and wrestling has really helped me heal myself and figure out who I am and feel strength in who I am. But it's always been quite difficult, especially being not understanding what's going on, especially because my mum was very young when she had me, so she didn't have a clue. So going into school not knowing, okay, your child's acting like this, thinking it's my fault when I'm just reacting to a behavior that I'm misunderstanding and not understanding how to parent that, because it's difficult, especially the fact that now there's more resources than ever. So like parents have so much opportunity to be able to understand these things, help the children develop. And like my partner works at a nursery, so she's very good at explaining to me that there's a lot that I could have had. I was just born in the wrong time period to have that type of support. And then I think going in secondary school, it was also difficult because I was starting to function better. So I was higher functioning. So I was high enough functioning to go to a normal school, but I was low enough functioning to get very, very bullied for my difficulties. So them things are always difficult. But as I said, I think finding passions and interest and really pursuing them can really help. Also going into graphic design, which is something I also do, and personal training, going into gym stuff, they have always really helped me. Just having creative outlets has really helped me understand who I am as a person and what why I'm doing these things. So the graphic design thing, that's so everything's in place, everything's where I want it to be, and I've got control there, and understanding that with my mood flipping, with my bipolar, having stuff like gym to just outlet myself, and then have a break after an hour and just breathe and just be like, okay, I feel regulated now.
Absolutely, mate. So you touched on there what I was going to ask you next. When you're feeling obviously quite overwhelmed with your bipolar, with your autism, what sort of strategies do you use to get you back to a state where you can think, I'm okay now? Is it, like you say, was it going to the gym? Is it doing your graphic design sort of thing? And then obviously with your graphic design, is that then helping you become more creative with your wrestling? So like obviously designing any like what you're wearing, things like
that. I do. So that's one thing I do actually really enjoy is I've got this tool set where I can use it for my wrestling. So I can program myself sessions. I can help. I can design my gear. I may not be able to make it back and design it. That takes a lot of the load off, because then I can understand, okay, does this look clean? Does this not? Like the logo I made for myself, I've made like 3 other ones as well for like different things that I could do in the future. So that's been really fun to connect into my wrestling. With my bipolar and that, the regulate, a lot of it's just regulating my emotions. So the gym's a really good one. I think my grandma's time. So I was raised in a Buddhist household, so I understood from like a younger age what meditation is, and a lot of the time meditation is just finding something to breathe, finding something to focus on nothing, because we always think thoughts, and if you're always thinking thoughts, you're not going to be thinking properly. You're going to be consumed in these little things when there's a bigger picture around you. So being able just to go to the gym, do a martial arts class, sometimes even training and just messing on, do some rolls to get some bumps out of me, do a cool move, and then afterwards just let myself release that, and then take a second, and then I'm back. But I think I also find it hard sometimes because I get a bit lost in my emotions with the bipolar. So like sometimes I'll be in my own head and I'll have to have Connie tell me, go gym now.
Absolutely, mate. So obviously you mentioned that you're very good at designing, but you don't know how to put it together, sort of thing. I think that it'd be really good for yourself to get in touch with Callum Crowe, who's been on the channel, and also Drew. Drew actually designs and actually makes her own costumes and everything like that, and all her own gear. I really do think that a partnership between yourself and Drew would be quite awesome, because you two could make some awesome gear between yourselves. So obviously having your is she your girlfriend?
Yeah.
Your partner? Yeah. So having your girlfriend, is she solely like your support system that you use outside of wrestling? And who else do you use as a support system, would you say?
Yeah, so luckily I met her just after I started wrestling, and it was sort of a perfect mix of like, I really needed somebody at that time. As I said, I was in a really low place. I just went, okay. And luckily she's a big wrestling fan. Her dad was a tape shredder, so she's was into TNA in the mid 2000s, watched all of the best type stuff. And then I was a WWE fan and watched a little bit of New Japan when that got popular, watched a little bit of this when it got popular, started watching AEW when that started. But I'd never seen that much wrestling. So meeting her and have somebody actually go, that's not as good as this, and be right, was quite nice. And I think at the same time, she's really supportive, but she'll also call me out when I'm being a little bit over, like being like, I'm allowed to be in my own emotions. She's like, you're just whining now. Shut up. Which is, it's healthy. I think a lot of the time with mental health now, people are just let's complain about everything, and I think sometimes you do need to be told that you're just complaining. Go do something, make yourself feel a little bit better. and we'll have more productive conversation. So yeah, she's brilliant. Now also having her dad, which as I said, I didn't really have a father figure, so having somebody obsessed with wrestling, show me the history of all Japan, be like a fatherly figure in my wrestling journey, and telling me that showing every day I'll get clips from all over the world that he finds the best stuff, and I'm like, oh my god, this is so cool. I'll try it, and I'll forget about it half the time because he'll send me another 5 clips. But it's really nice to have that supportive figure there. I think that's really helped me move on in my wrestling journey and be more independent in it. And then also having people like Alfie, like I think Alfie, Callum, Will, Ings, Jim, Gentleman Jim, everybody from Liam to Leon is so warm and welcoming that sometimes you can just have a private conversation with one of them. Even Nathan, when he's in a good mood, you can have a good conversation with and just open up a little bit too. And I think, as I said, I didn't get that at my first school, so it made me feel so shut off and so reserved. And now I'm quite open. If I'm not having a good day, I'm quite open about it. I'm just like, I don't feel it, but let's do the wrestling, and like that's okay.
Absolutely, mate. So obviously, when you found out that your missus and her dad were really big into wrestling,
Yeah.
What was their initial reaction when you told them that you are a professional wrestler, and have they been to see you wrestle at all?
So his reaction was, "Oh, so you're a wrestler," and her reaction was pretty similar but a bit nicer. So like, it was a thing of like, if you're doing this, you better be good. Which respect, to be fair, like I kind of appreciate that because he's quite like, I'm just going to tell you if I didn't like it, and like I haven't got that much negative response so far, so I think I'm doing well. But I haven't really got them to see me yet, but that's a two-part thing. I want to, for one, be proud in what I'm showing them. So sometimes I'm a little bit in my own head, like because I'm doing proper shows now, like and I've got a couple of places that I know I'm going to be at, and that. So like for example, the George Hunter match, that was the match that I wanted to bring Connie for, because I was like, this is it. This is where I can have a proper match, show my character, and really do something. Which that's fine that that's being cancelled, but then obviously now my aim is to be like, okay, I'm gonna get like really cool match. So when I show them, I can be like, this is what I meant. This is what I meant when I said I was going to be a wrestler. I'm not just, because I completely understand people want different things from wrestling, but I am definitely somebody who wants as much as I can get. I want to go as far as possible.
Absolutely, mate. I do think that that Hunter match needs to happen because myself and my friend Liam from Magical Wrestling, we've been to see George quite a few times up at UKW, and he's absolutely insane. He's a very, very good talented wrestler. So you two could make some real magic together.
Even teaming with him, there's a couple of places that have said to me they want me to team with him, and that honestly, that'd be brilliant as well, because I just love him to bits, and he is just so good that I'm like, please, can I do something with him before he's everywhere.
Definitely, mate. So, what specific challenges related to mental health have you faced in your career, mate? I'll give some examples: performance anxiety, pressure, travel, body imagery, and then social media scrutiny.
Oh, I think I've ticked all them boxes. Like, so coming in, I've done a large physical journey. Like, I feel really happy in my body, but I do have a lot of body dysmorphia. That started from my kickboxing journey. I think most people who do martial arts from a very young age tend to get some type of body dysmorphia, because there's just a bunch of jacked dudes, and you're like, why can't I be that jacked? And you're like, you're 13, mate. You're probably not going to. But coming into wrestling, there was a lad there that would always call me skinny, and that just stuck in my head. So I think that's affected me a lot in my wrestling with my body image. I'm somebody that is constantly at the gym, but for them type of reasons. Although it's unhealthy, I'm getting the healthy side out of it by going, okay, We're going to train. We're going to make sure we're not overtraining, but we're going to train hard when we train. And then next time they're with us, they can see how good I look. Then not in an egotistical way, but in like just like I've proved it to them. I've proved it to them that they can't say anything now. But that's been a really big difficulty, especially being somebody a bit skinnier, because like everybody knows the problem's a bit bigger, but I think sometimes being a bit smaller doesn't really, that gets off as like a roll of the eyes, and it's like it's hard for some people. My metabolism's really high. Like it's not, even if I eat that many calories, I'm not growing like he grows. I'm getting a quarter of that, and it still, I'm not going to look muscular. Now, after 5-6 years of working out, I'm starting to get where I want to be with it. But still, like, I think yesterday I took a photo and I was like, I look real small here, but I'm knowing in my head, the guy probably just doesn't know how to take proper wrestling photos. And I'm probably just tired and need to eat because I hadn't eaten then. And I'd had a full rest day the day before coming back from Paris. So, like, understanding them things after is really good as well. And now I'm able to separate that, as at first I really wasn't. So I am in a much healthier place with that. And I do feel like I'm able now to go over to people and give them help with certain things like working out and stuff, because I've got myself qualified, and I'm coming from a similar perspective of this type of training will support you more than this type of training because of these reasons, rather than just being like this thing or this thing. Because that's how it felt to me, that somebody was just going, mate, you're not one of them lads, put a shirt on. And I was like, can I not? But obviously in a much more positive place with all of that now. Give me the other question, sorry, I'm calling tangents.
No, it's all right, mate. You can ramble on as much as you like, mate. Entirely.
Sorry, I'm at the checklist of questions that you gave me of things like of
So you had performance anxiety,
yeah,
pressure, travel, body imagery, and social media scrutiny.
So performance anxiety is a massive thing I deal with. I've always had. I think that comes to being bullied. I think that's just something that I'm always going to feel. But like, I did musical theatre as well. So I've done musical theatre, I've done martial arts and wrestling. They're all very in front of people. I think martial arts was actually the scariest for me. Mm-hmm. Like doing a K1 tournament and like having somebody punching me in the face. Like my first proper K1 tournament, I got bad, and I was all here and like my head was swinging from side to side with his fist, and I just, meanwhile my coaches were shouting at me, do this, and I just stopped, and afterwards I had to go away, take my head thing off, and just sit there really emotional, because that also felt like a bit of a failure at the same time. So that was really hard to deal with. I think I get a similar feeling before wrestling, but as soon as you're out there, I think that all sort of turns into excitement. That turns into like a connection with the audience, which is a really nice thing out of that. Because at first that feels awful, but it's really nice to know that's not just a negative emotion. That's something that can be harnessed into a positive, that can be used. I think with performance anxiety as well, it's never fun. But as I say, I don't think there's much that you can do. There's just understanding that it's energy that you can use.
Absolutely, mate. Absolutely. So, has there been any particular moments or periods in your career so far where your mental health struggles have felt particularly overwhelming?
Yeah, I think after that second match, and the second training match, like I think Nathan just wasn't happy with the face heel dynamic, so he said that to me, and that I felt like I was trying so hard to do whatever it was right. I don't know whether it was my ability or whether it was this, but I feel like I'm doing all the little things I can do, and it hadn't worked. And he wasn't happy with it. And it was more of a thing as I think he was seeing that other people were doing it, and he was like, all right, you guys really didn't hit the mark yet. You need to be doing this, this, and this. But that was a lot, especially because I'd hurt my leg, I'd done the team thing, none of that had worked. So like really having a moment of, is this for me? And I think Brandon Butcher really helped me with that. He came over and he was like, that's a part of it. And this is one of them moments where you got to tell yourself, is it too much or is it not? Or can you keep going? Because if it's too much, that's fine, but you need to admit that to yourself. So I took a moment, and it was really good for me just to be able to go, I can push for tomorrow. I can keep going. And I think actually going outside of PPW, especially after the Liam match, my confidence doubled, and I feel much stronger now than I ever have, which is really cool, especially considering that was only half a year ago that I was sat there a bit teary going, it is me. Because if it's not them, and this is something that's happening continuously, it must be a problem just with me.
Absolutely understand what you're saying there, bud. So when you're having these particularly overwhelming moments, what sort of mentality do you try and focus on? Is there a certain is there like some certain advice that you can focus on? Is there some music that you listen to? What sort of like strategies do you use to get yourself through those dark times?
So I think for me, I know I'll just stay in an emotional state for a while. So Mauro Ranallo has a documentary about bipolar, and it's really good at explaining it. It's you build up all this emotion you don't know you built it up, and it comes out in one explosion, and that just stays there for a while, and it's an explosion, and then it's like a sadness follows, and it can be really hard sometimes because I've had that match, hasn't went well, and I know my mind's in this thing. So a lot of the time it's preventing myself from exploding, or at least releasing this in that environment and understanding, okay, I can, but I've got to make sure I'm not being unprofessional, I'm not doing this, I'm not doing that, and understanding, take myself away for a minute. I'll call Connie, I'll complain to her, I'll find somebody I'm more comfortable with as well at wrestling and talk to them about it, try to open up a little bit. I think that's something that's really useful, is just saying something, even if it's not the full story, giving them something, and that takes away a little bit from you. Doing a little bit of that here and there, and then I will use music quite a lot to emphasize my emotions. I like to sort of feel what I'm feeling. I'm not somebody that's like, I put on happy music just to feel happy. A lot of the time I'm like, I'm feeling this emotion, I want to feel it to its highest point rather than move away from it so I can allow it to happen. I think that's always something that I've been strong on, is like, I don't want to just pretend that hasn't happened. I want to be able to understand how I'm feeling. So I'm very eclectic on music. I'll listen to most things from sad folky music to some indie tracks. I listen to some grunge music, some rock, a little bit of metal, not as much anymore. My girlfriend's a K-pop fan, so I don't get to listen to as much metal anymore. Used to be a big metalhead though. I think now I've really got into my grunge again, and then my emo music, back into a little phase of that. But I tend to just go through whatever I'm feeling. I'll find a song that represents that to me, and I'll be listening to that on repeat for a couple hours, and then move on to something else depending on how I feel.
Absolutely, mate. I'm guessing your girlfriend is in love with the Demon Hunters anime at the moment, then?
No, surprisingly not. She just likes the boy bands. Now she's just into different boy bands again. So she found a show on Prime called The Runaround, and like an indie band, but they make the indie band on the show, so they're so attractive.
Fair enough. But what was your go-to metal music when you were a big metalhead?
Oh, it was very, very basic. Behemoth, Slipknot. I think it always verged between like screamo, grunge, and like metal. So like A Day to Remember, anything with a good Americanized voice, and then goes to like a scream, I'm quite happy with. Yeah, just your basics really, Deftones. Like I'm not. I would never say I'm like an expert on it because this was teenage me. Just teenage me being like, this is so cool. When like we're too far away from the actual start of the metal movement to be able to go, here's all these bands, which I'm happy I know now. I was around a bunch of really lame people that thought they were really cool, sadly.
Absolutely, bud. So, obviously, for anyone that's watching, mate, whether they be a wrestler or if they're a fan or whatever, what message would you give to that person that's struggling with mental health, who might be struggling in silence? What would you say to them?
I think a lot of people will try and invalidate what you try to say. So it's always good to find somebody who will let you speak. So sometimes that may mean speaking to a lot of people that are just going to try and say, yeah, I know what you mean. I know what you mean. See, I had this thing, and that means that I completely validate your statement. And I think a lot of the time what we need is for somebody to listen. So I think sometimes it's good to be a little bit judgy of people and be, I'm not telling him, her, him. Find somebody that you know, find somebody around you you can just say that to, where they'll just say, okay. And you don't need to dive into it. They don't need to do that. Sometimes you just want to be heard.
Sound advice, mate. Couldn't put it better to myself. So for someone that is obviously on the front lines of the wrestling industry, how do you believe that wrestling companies can better support the performer's mental health?
That's a hard one. I think there's different strategies that people have. So a lot of the times people just try and make everybody happy. Some places try and make themselves feel like families. But I think overall just having an open voice. So like having everybody have an open voice, even the younger guys that are there, bringing them in and introducing them louder. And like I think some of the time you can be like, here's a new guy, and I'm going to talk to these guys, and like we're a lot more, that body language is a lot more there, and I think sometimes that can be overwhelming for new people. I think now because I've met a lot of people, I'm a lot more confident in like, all right, I know who I am. I don't have to prove myself. I can find it cool. Like I saw Matt and Kirby at the show, and I'm like, he did the WCPW thing. That was real cool. Like in my head, but I'm not. I don't need to like project that in. But I think a lot of the time, just have it feeling like you're able to talk in this environment is really helpful. I think some promoters and that can make you feel really on edge around certain people. It's like you don't need to. Or like I think rumors need to be stopped. I think that's something that I've seen at too many companies. Petty squabbles, this guy, that guy, whatever. And it's like we're all wrestlers. We're all in our underwear. Can we not have that? Because that's what makes us feel awkward when there's a judgment there. Can we just stop judging each other? Because if we're going to judge each other, look at what we're wearing. Look at what we're doing.
I couldn't put it better myself, mate. If I'm honest, I could not have put that better myself.
Well, like this is something that gets me quite a lot. Like when people are like, oh, you're in your undies. You're in your undies, and like starting off, you're entertaining 40 kids. Like that's not like people do the same and dress as Cinderella. Where like you can't go, oh, we're an athlete with this, with that. Well, we're also doing this, and like you've got to be able to laugh at yourself and laugh at each other, but like at the same time, let's not take away from each other. At least unless it's, I completely agree with being like, okay, that's not on, but there's a way to do it. Like if we're at training the other week, somebody hits a move that they're not ready to hit, and Liam just goes, "Let's not do that again, ever, please." And that's all you need. You don't need to feel awkward. You don't need to feel pressured. You don't need to feel judgment around you. You just need an open room with people who are just are there to say hi, shake hands, and like that can be really cool as well when you are in a backstage area that's quite welcoming. That's so nice. The whole show I was at, Classic British Wrestling, that was probably the best backstage experience I've had. and there was George and Nathan who do PPW. The rest weren't PPW guys, but everyone was happy to be there, and that was so fun. Just going back and be like, I can talk to all these guys. I can talk about my wrestling experience. They can talk about theirs. There's no awkward emotions or feelings here. But I feel like a lot of places there's a sort of about him, about there, and I don't feel like that should exist anymore.
Would you say that in a couple of companies there's sort of like a clique sort of backstage?
I think people try and make cliques, but they never work. I don't think it can work now. I think you can tell, and it's like I'm like a lot of time if I do see people be clicky, I just sort of roll my eyes because I'm like, there's no point or purpose here, because eventually there's going to be somebody. There's going to be somebody cool. There's going to be somebody here or there that you're going to want that aren't going to agree with your guys. And like I've seen it happen already in 4 years. That clique breaking up and that causing severe disagreements and relationships broken because we couldn't just be we couldn't just accept that, like, it's not always going to be best friends. Sometimes you see a guy and you go, I don't like him, I don't like his attitude, but he's really good, and if I have a match with him, that's going to be really good, and that's probably more worth me forgetting how I'm feeling right now than going, I want one of my guys in that match, and we're going to do this and we're going to do that because, like, it's us, and like we've got more experience than you, so like that's what's going to happen, or like we've been here longer than you, so this is what's going to happen. Like I don't think people need to be trying to be cliquey anymore. I think everybody's quite open with booking people, with giving people opportunities, with going, like, I met plenty of people at the Firestar show that were like willing to be like, oh hi, this is who I am, this is what I'm doing, oh you should check out this place, you should look at that place, or maybe try going here. And that was really nice to hear, to be honest, and not be like, not have a little bit of like I'm talking to you but I'm not gonna, like, you know when you talk to somebody and they just hide details from stuff but you can tell that they're hiding that, like, I think not having that was really nice, because I think that's the clickiness I see. I think, like, it's not so like we're all together in a group huddled around. It's more so like now we're gonna all be whispering, that we're doing Chinese whispers. I think that always breaks down quite poorly.
Absolutely. So would you say that just having like an open forum sort of thing within the locker room, does that make things a bit better? Does it make it easier for especially for new people?
Yeah. I think when you've got like some people, like, I think the worst thing you can be is just deadpan, like especially with new people, because like even if you're not in the best mood for it, you don't know how they can be feeling, and you should understand that's a lot of pressure for new people coming up. Like your first experience somewhere, you're thinking, okay, how can I impress the booker? How can I impress them? And you're also trying to remember a whole match with somebody who plans a match differently to how you do, because we're all from one school where you learn one way of doing things, but they want to do a different thing, and I don't understand what they're saying, but I'm going to do it. That's intimidating. So I think what we can do to make that easier is make the locker rooms less intense and a little bit friendlier, as you said, an open forum.
Absolutely. But so as we start to wind down, mate, what role would you say professional wrestling has played in your overall mental health journey? Would you say it's been a source of strength? Has it been a challenge, or has it been a bit of both?
A bit of both. I think I have found myself in wrestling. I think not like character wise, more so in terms of like I found who I am as a person through wrestling. And like it's helped me understand my emotions a lot better, using the character to push out certain things of me, certain traumas, being able to communicate openly, and being able to also feel certain things that you're not allowed to feel in real life as a character is brilliant. I think having that allowance to disappear into something is really helped me understand myself a lot, and I think that's the best thing that I've got from it. Isn't just the strength or the challenges. It's all that it's understanding. If I didn't start wrestling, I won't be at a point now where I know who I am and I know what I want. Is then I was so scared to even question it.
Definitely, bud. So, second to last question, mate. What are your aspirations and goals within professional wrestling for the future?
I am somebody that is very headstrong. So my goal is to get to the big one. Is to get to one of the big companies around the world, and become a champion. Like that. That's it. And I think people will roll their eyes at that, but I think coming from such a low place, there's no reason why I can't say why not. Why can I not make it to NXT? I've just seen Leon in NXT. I'm not Leon. Why can I not make it there? Why can I not make it to an AW, New Japan? And I think my dream would be to go to All Japan overall as well. Like that's Connie's dad got me into it, and I absolutely adore it. Like the legitimate style of it is I love. There's a wrestler called Shirato Ashino, and I love watching him. He don't do anything flashy, but what he does makes sense. So like every time I watch him, I see him do something, and I'm like, that makes so much sense. And that's one of my favorite parts of wrestling, is being like, I'd move here because I'm doing this thing, and not worrying about I need to get here to hit this thing, even though I'm doing some of that. I love I much prefer the side of what do I do from here, and as a physical chess battle.
Absolutely, mate. So, come to the final question, Matty. Just want to briefly say, mate, thank you so much for coming on. Really do appreciate it. Very last question: who is on your Mount Rushmore of wrestlers?
Oh, that's hard. Kurt Angle.
Okay.
This is strictly wrestling ability, because I can't touch outside of wrestling ability, or it gets too. Because then, like, if you go financial, actually, I'll do bookers as well, because that's gonna annoy me if I don't. Paul Heyman, Vince, although everybody hates him, but he is, you can't say he's not. Baba, and can't say what's his name, because the MMA New Japan thing was just, it's so messy. Can't touch that. Turner. Actually, no. Memphis. Jerry Lawler's entire run of Memphis, best booking of that. Just because I've got contrast to that. Yeah. So best wrestlers in ring: Kurt Angle, Daniel Bryan, Bryan Danielson, AJ, and Joe. I think they are what I'd say is like, they're the evolution of wrestling peaking. I argue to a lot of people CM Punk is the perfect wrestler guy, but he is not. He would not touch that something.
Absolutely, mate. Well, these are all personal Mount Rushmores, mate, and I've got to say that's probably one of the best. So yeah, that's the end of today's episode, guys, of the Unseen Battles. Massive credit to yourself, Matty. Thank you so much for coming on. Really do appreciate it, and I really do appreciate you opening up about your stories and your struggles. To finish off, mate, I'll let you finish off the stream. Is there anything you want to say? If there's anything you want to plug, if there's anything you want to get off your chest, anything like that, go ahead, mate.
This weekend, I will be going to Super Pro and Planet. So hopefully we'll be doing something there. So you can probably see me at one of them shows. And then after that, I'm still figuring out what's happening, so I'll keep you updated. Just keep up to date by following me on Instagram at Matty Carter 45, Facebook same, and see me.
There you go, guys. Make sure you go check out Matty. Check out his Instagram on the QR code, and we'll see you next time on the next episode of the Unseen Battles. Thank you for joining us.